So now here's the answer to Daniel's prayer in verse 24, and this is where we got to pay attention. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So the angel Gabriel says to Daniel, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Now we need to understand what is meant by 70 weeks. The Hebrew word translated weeks, it literally means sevens. Sevens. You can write that down if you're a note taker. Weeks means sevens. It's a unit of 7. The New Living Translation really captures this. The New Living Translation reads, a period of 70 sets of 7 has been decreed for your people. 70 sets of 7. So 70 weeks means 70 sets of 7. And that word weeks, it can refer to 7 of anything. 70 sets of something. Just like the word dozen can refer to, a quantity of 12, but it can refer to 12 anything. 12 apples, 12 oranges, 12 days. It's just a quantity of 12. Well, the word weeks is a quantity of 7. So 70 sets of 7, we got to figure out what 7 of what, are determined for your people and for your holy city. In the context, it must refer to years. To years. So 70 weeks of years are determined. Why? Well, because Daniel has been thinking in terms of years. He's been considering the 70 years of captivity. And so the context of the passage is years. So 70 weeks of years are determined, or 70 sets of 7 years are determined. Now, counting years and weeks like this, it's strange to us in our culture because we mark years in increments of 10. A 10-year period is a decade. We talk about the 70s, if you're old enough, or the 80s, or the 90s, right? And when we talk about years like this, we tend to talk in decades. Well, in the Old Testament, the Jewish people, they measured time in sevens. In sevens. They had the 7-day week, work 6 days, rest on the 7th day, the Sabbath. They were to mark every 7th year as a Sabbath year. And they were commanded, to plow and till the ground for 6 years. But in the 7th year, they were to let the ground lay fallow. And every 7th year was a Sabbath year. They also had the year of Jubilee, when all debts were canceled and property was returned to the original owner and slaves were set free. And the way the Jewish people calculated the year of Jubilee was by counting the Sabbath years. And they were to count, we're told in Leviticus, count 7 Sabbath years, and then the year after the 7th Sabbath year is the year of Jubilee. So 7 Sabbath years, that would be 49. 7 times 7 would be 49 years. And then the year after that would be considered the year of Jubilee. Now we would say, oh, you mean the 50th year. But we count by tens. For the Jewish person in Jewish thought, no, it's the year after the 7th Sabbath year, because they mark years by sevens. So it's strange to us, but counting years by sevens is normal for Daniel. This makes plenty of sense for Daniel here. And so 70 weeks of years have been determined, 70 sets of 7 years. And now here's where the math comes in. 70 sets of 7 years. What's 70 times 7? 490. I did it for you, right? So you don't carry that. You don't have to do any of that stuff. So 490 years is what we're talking about here. 490 years are determined for your people and for your holy city. This is a prophecy about 490 years. Now, so Daniel here, he's reading in Jeremiah about the captivity, that the captivity will last 70 years. Again, going by sevens, it's going to last 70 years. Now, why were they in captivity for 70 years? If you're taking notes, you can jot down 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 21. 2 Chronicles 36:21, I'll tell you what it says. It says, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. As long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. So God gave the reason for the 70 years of captivity, and the reason is the whole time the Israelites were in the land, from the time of Joshua to the time of the captivity, they were disobedient to God, and they did not keep the Sabbath years. Every seventh year was supposed to be a Sabbath year, and the Israelites never observed the Sabbath year. So God says, you owe me 70 years. 70 years of Sabbaths, because you didn't keep the Sabbath year.